In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a chart for stock market very similar to a Coinmarketcap chart. And they are really beautiful because they have a lot of features. And what we're going to do is we're going to do step by step. This is part one of it. And we're going to make here these colors where the line, depending on the value, based on the opening time here or the opening rate, we will compare that one, make the gradient here, and we have this dotted line as well. So we're going to start focusing on how to create a stock market chart like the Coinmarketcap website, and this is part one. So let's start to do this. First thing what we're going to do here is we need to go to chartjs.com and specifically this link here with the getting started, and this link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on the site, scroll down and just copy this chunk of code here. We need this code, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here. Alright, paste that all in there. And once I paste that in there, I will cut out the title here, put the title in there. Save, refresh, there we are. Now I have a bar chart, let's convert it into a line chart. I'm going to scroll down here, say here line, save that, and then here for this, we can say tension 0.4 to make it elastic. Save, refresh. Alright, so now we have this, and I will not work on dates. I will skip that, and maybe there will be another video specifically for that. But what I'm going to do here, first I want to put this value down here, then after we're going to start to change the colors. So in here, instead of 18, I want to grab a more lower value, and the reason why is because in a stock market chart, normally everything will be compared with the opening rate. And if, for example, this here, the starting point here is the opening rate, everything else would be basically in red by default because everything is lower compared to this. So I want to make this a bit lower, somewhere here in 9 point something. So let's say 9.33. Save that, refresh. So now we have a very nice unique value, and in this line here, everything here up will become green, but everything here below will be red. So you have this nice effect here that we're going to work on. Alright, first thing what I want to work on is the border color then. And we can immediately do that one. So we're going to play around with the border colors. So I'm going to comment this out. I'll just do comment out. You can delete it if you want, but I will need these colors. So that's why I just commented out for now. So I say here border color, and I'm going to create a callback functionality. Basically, we're allowed to create here what we call a script. It's scriptable, meaning we can use a script command to assign a color depending on certain cases. In our case, a unique case, which is we're going to use context. And I'm going to say first of all console log. And we just show here the context. And why is it unique? Because our line will be different colors depending on the value. So if I refresh here, I get an error because I forgot a comma. Make sure you put a comma here, save, refresh. Alright, so we have our callback functionality. And of course, it doesn't give yet any color because we don't have any more border color assigned. We didn't return anything. What we do get here is a lot of information that we can now start to play around with. And what I need here basically is to create a function, and that function will create what we call a gradient effect. And a gradient effect will be essential because we have this line here, and that line here will make the upper part green and lower part red. And that is basically a gradient effect with an instant switch instead of a gradual switch. So this is very important, so let's start to work on this. So I'm going to put in here some commands. The first one is the constant of chart, and that is context.chart. So basically that's this namespace. If you do .chart, we get the chart object, which is basically this one here, the my chart with all the information. And with that, we can start to move through the entire chart itself. This is very, very powerful. So then what I will do here is a quick object destructuring. So there's a constant. And by the way, if you want to understand what is object destructuring, in the description box, there's a video about understanding object destructuring for Chartjs. So I'm going to say a ctx.chart area. I said dot, but it should be a comma, data, we'll be needing that one, and dot, comma, scales, and this will be equal to the chart object, as I indicated. So once we have that, I'm going to say here enter, and I'm going to make an if statement. And this if statement will help us because you have this animation. If I refresh, you have this animation, and well, you don't see it here, but usually because of the animation, the first value or the first two values tend to have no value at all. So what happened with the chart area, it might bounce back because of an error. It will block it. It wouldn't load further because it says, sorry, I cannot find this value. but it's because of the animation. So what I need to do here in the beginning, to ignore this error message and that it will stop or break the code, what I want to do is here say, here, if no chart area, in that case, we will return null as no value. And then what we're going to do is, but because it will load more than 30 times in this case, as you can see here, after the second load, it usually shows the right value. So we can say here, return, and then what I'm going to do here is say get gradient. I'm going to get here the specific functionality that we're going to use. And the functionality will have the following arguments, all of these objects we have. So I'm going to put that in there. So once I did this, I'm going to use this functionality here and create a new function here at the bottom. So I'm going to put in some multiple enters, and then there we are. Function, get gradient, and then here I need to grab the entire code here. I'm going to use all of these because these are the ones I'll be needing. And these are now our parameters, but they're also the arguments itself. So now let's start to look what we need to do next is start to work on the colors. But what I want to do here now is an object destruction, but specifically for the chart area. So I'm going to say a constant, and I'm going to put in here the following: left, right, top, bottom, width and height. We might not use most of them probably, but just having them. If you want to understand chart area in Chart.js, I'm going to recommend you another video. So in the description box, it says they're understanding the chart area in Chart.js. Very powerful tool, by the way. So then we have this. Another item we're going to do here is the constant of the scale. In this case, here another object destruction, but now I'm going to say here x and y scale equal the scales. That's it. So now I have this. And now what I need to do is I need to start to specify the gradient code or the gradient area. In our case, we can just do the full area, or I guess we can. I guess the full area is more than enough. So we're going to say we can do the chart area, or the chart area region, or just the full area. In this case, I'm just going to do from top to bottom. So I will not spend too much time on that. So a constant gradient. This is the gradient. Make sure we spell it correctly. Gradient BG or border. I guess it's not the background color. Border, and then I'm going to say ctx dot create linear gradient, which is just a canvas command. And then in here, we're basically having the x, y, and then width and height. To make it very simple, I'm going to grab here the values that we need. Well, in this case, we're going to start at the position x, which is 0, or in this case, that will be just in the corner here. I'm just starting here, straight in the corner, x, and then we're going all the way, and then also the top, so x, 0, and top will be 0. So the y is as well 0. And then we're going to say here the width. Well, the width effect here, I'll put it on 0, because we will not really focus on width. I don't want to have it any diagonal effect, but I want to have here, of course, a vertical effect. Or sorry, a horizontal is that? Yes, that's a, I think it's a, sorry, it's a vertical effect, because I go from top to bottom. I will only focus on the color top to bottom, not from here to that point. No, that's why I don't work here with the width. So there's no width impact. But this one here is the top, is the bottom. So I'm going to grab here the bottom. This is very important, because the bottom is basically this line here. So once we have this, what I need to do next is start to work on, let's see here, what exactly once we have that, we need to know here the specific position of this magical value here, the 9.33. Because what I need to calculate is this line here, what we have here, basically the shift from red or from green to red, or vice versa. So that's very important. So I'm going to say here constant shift, which is the basically the magic line that switches the colors. And then what I'm going to do here, because in gradient we're going to use percentage values. So what I need to do is I need to know my position here, this, what is the exact position on the y scale compared to the overall height here in this case. So that's very important. So that's what I'm going to do here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a command, which is from Chart.js, y, and then this is the y here is from the y scale. So y, and then we say get pixel for value. And the value I want to grab is basically in the data here. Where exactly, if you wonder? Well, if you go from data to data sets index 0, data index 0. This is the one we need. But basically, I don't need a number. I need the pixel value. So that's what we're going to do here. So you can say here, get this. All right. And then what I'm going to say here is data, which is this data here. Then dot data sets index 0 dot. Then we're going to say get data index 0. So once I have this, I have here now the pixel value. And then what I'm going to do is divide by the bottom. The bottom is calculated here. So whatever this would be, so the bottom will be from top to bottom here, how many pixels, and that one will be, so we can calculate the percentage amount. So we say here, dot bottom. And if we do this, let's do a console log here. Let's see what we get in the shift. And then what I want to do is as well, maybe there's a console log for the y value, so you have an understanding what truly the y value is. Because I guess a visual is helpful. So refresh. There we are. And now we get here the values. You can see here it's 34% approximately. Sorry, approximately. And the reason why it is 70 pixels. So how much is this here? Well, if that is 34%, then, and we can see here, the height is 235. So 30% of that is 70, I guess here. That's somewhere there. And then, well, anyway, I guess I should not even calculate that. I better do it with a calculator. So that is fine. So now we have this number. And this number for us is basically the most important one, because we can, with this, we can now start to color. So I'm going to remove all of this. What I'm going to say here now is gradient background, or sorry, not gradient background, gradient border, that is this one here, you get this one. And say you dot add color. Stop, capital C for color, and capital S for stop. Then here, what we're going to do is, we're going to start at the very top, because that's our starting point here, 0, 0. So at the very top here, we're going to start with green, and then gradually it goes down here until we hit this point. It will stay green here, but then after it will shift or switch to the red color. So I'm going to just make it simple. I'll say it's 0, because remember we calculate the shift or the percentage or the basically the gradient is being calculated in percentages from 0 to 1. So this is the reason why I'm calculating this here as well in a percentage. So we have this here, and then we're going to say 0. We start with the green. What is the green color? Let's go up here. The fourth value is the green color. So I'm going to copy this. It's a string value, of course. There we are. Then what I want to do here, I'm going to copy this, put that in here, because I want a not a gradual switch. I want an instant switch. Remember that, an instant switch. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab this shift value, which is 0.34% or 34 points. So I'm going to grab this one here, put that in there, and then I'm going to do this, copy this, put that in there. We have this, but then here, I want to make this red. The reason I'm doing this is, I want an instant switch, as I said. So I'm going to say here will be the red color. The red color is this color here. Copy that. Put it in here. There we are. And then what I'm going to do is, then I go to 100%, which is 1. Make it red again. So we have this now. And if I save this, before I even save this, I need to return the value. And then the value that we want to return is the gradient border. So semicolon, save, refresh. Alright, there we are. So now if you really look carefully, it has an instant nice switch here. Even this here, this circle is being affected by it. And you can see here, this works very nicely because it's based on 933. Alright, so now we have this here. I guess what would be very nice is to remove these radius points. And then we can continue on. So what I'm going to do here, within here we have this tension. I will do comma. I'm going to say here, point radius. I'm going to say 0, save, refresh. Alright, so now it's 0. But one thing I need to do, because if I do this 0, my hit point needs to be exactly on top of this point here. And it's very tough to reach. So what I'm going to do here to make that easy is a hit point radius as a radius of 10 pixels, meaning that if we are in the neighborhood somewhere here, we should already trigger the item here. Am I correct? All right. If I do here, hit point radius, or I guess did I have a point hit radius? That's probably the right term. Sorry, point hit radius. Let's see. There we are. As you can see here, I'm even outside here. It already triggers it nicely. So that's the first one here, and we can even maybe remove the hover point radius as well. So I'm going to say here, hover point radius equals 0. Save that. Make sure you have a comma here, or else you get an error. And now, if I hover, oh, sorry, that must be here, of course. It still shows. That's all right. I'm going to work on that later on. Maybe it's another term that I'm missing here. So what we're going to do next is we can do, now we have this, we can as well do the background color. So for the background color, we are going to work slightly different. And the reason why this is different is because we need to have here, what I like to do is, of course, to make from this point, because later on we're going to make this imaginary line, we're going to fill up here a line. But this point here up needs to be a gradient effect. We start here at the darkest green and go here all to transparent white. And then from here, it goes down to here, and that will be red. From transparent white to red, gradient red. But of course, this part will be ignored. Only the part with the, with the peak and the valleys, basically. All right. So how do we do that? Well, I can remove these border colors that you comment out. Let's remove them. And now what I will do is I'm going to focus on the background color, but not really specifically on the background color. I need to work on the fill. So we need to say here, first of all, fill. And our fill will have a target. And what this really does is it will start to look at the color, how we can assign the color in one way or another. So we're going to say fill target and the value. In this case, I'll just be easy here. I'm going to say 9.33, which is this value here. We could do a callback functionality, but for now, I'll just leave it. Save that. Make sure you have a comma here. Save, refresh. Alright, as you can see here, now we get already what we want. But of course, I want two colors. I want this green, that red. So let's go down here, or let's continue on. So then I'm going to say here, or not here, but I need to go down here on the target. Then I'm going to say here, a condition of below. So when we're going to target the values, when the value is below this, in that case, we're going to pinpoint this specific one. That will be red. So what I'm going to do here is, just for now, I'm going to say this will be red. And then I will do comma, I will say above will be green. If I save this, refresh, there we are. We have this, but these colors are, to be honest, I don't like them. So let's put, well, we can put them in there, but I think it's not even necessary. What I'm going to do here now is the following. I'm going to create here a callback functionality. Let's comment this out. I'm going to say here again a callback functionality. And we will be doing almost exactly the same here, or I think it is truly the same. So what we could do here is just copy this entire chunk of code. Let's copy all of this here. Put that in there. And then here, this must be different. We need a different functionality here because we have a different color coding now. So what I'm going to say here, instead of get gradient, maybe what we can do here is, I'll just make it simple. I'll just say below, so we know which one we're targeting on. So this is the function for the below gradient. I'm going to copy this. And before I even do this, I have this here, and I think this one is probably not necessary, or do I have to do proper indentation here? No, that's it. Alright, I can just move this above. Later on, we'll be working on that one. So then, say below gradient, that is our function, but I can grab this entire function here. Let's put a semicolon here. Scroll down. Say here function. And then we have here this. And basically, we're going to do almost the same structuring here. Except here, it is just a little bit different based on our values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy the ones that are very useful for us. These two here are definitely useful. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to say here, maybe we can even use the same constant value here. The reason why we can do this, or we are allowed to do all of this, because they're within function. And a constant is within a block scope, and a block scope is this parentheses here. So let's put a 7 column as well, just to be neat. So this is not a problem. However, this can be of course tricky, because if you have multiple names with the same item, you can make a mistake. So watch out if you do this. So what I'm going to do now is the following. I'm going to create here the colors, and what I want here is, instead of all of these zeros here, I need to be more careful now, because where do we need to start? Our starting point for below is from here downwards. So that will mean that this color, the gradient, will be from this all the way down. So what I need to do here is, remember these values here. This one was the X value, the Y value, the width, and the height. So let's start. Where do we need to start on the X value? Well, in this case, let's see, our X value can be just on 0. We want to just start at this corner all the way to the right, so that everything of our chart is being colored. So that's fine. However, our Y value will be more specific. Remember what we did here? We can just copy this code here, because it will get us the pixel coordinates here. And that's the one I need. So I'm going to grab this, put that in the Y. Alright, so we have that one. Then the next one, and let's put a space here and some space here, just to make it a bit more neat. Next is the width. And the width, in this case, could be 0 as well, because we want to only pinpoint this up and down here. So I'm going to put in 0 here. And then what I want to do here is, I guess we can get here the bottom as well, because I want to have from this point down. So once I did this, enter, and then here, let's see, we're going to work on the next part, which is again the gradient. I guess here this is the gradient border. I don't like the term of it. Let's say gradient background. And I'm not sure, do we have any? No, we have nothing with the same function name or something, just to avoid that. So the gradient background, which is a far more appropriate term. So we're going to say here, and then we say dot add color stop. And then here again, we start at 0. The 0 now is this position here. That's the 0. Then all the way down to whatever our negative value is. So once we have this, comma, I'm going to grab the color here. And this is the color red. So I'm going to copy that, put that in here. So that's the first one. Then the next one is, we need to have, let's copy this. I'm going to do this one here, and then what I will do here, as we go more deeper down, I want to intensify the color. And I guess here, what I want to do is, I want to start with completely transparent red. So it is red, but it's transparent, so we want to notice it. And as we go down, it will intensify to 50%. So once I did this should be more than enough. And I'm going to return the background color, or gradient background color. So let's save this and see if this works. Alright, interesting, we get an error, so I'm going to check here up. What is the error here? Most likely here, if this, no. Open up developer tab. Missing argument on 130. Alright, so I'm going just down here on 130. Let's look here. Gradient. Alright. Let's see, what am I missing? So let me explain here. I am probably missing a parenthesis here. As you can see here, my bad. So what happened is 1, 2, and here no parentheses. So that's why saying missing argument expects more values, of course. So I'm going to put in here this. Now we should save and refresh. There we are. So now we have this, and I'm surprised the color is still quite solid. So, of course, the reason why I forgot you to put number 1. Save, refresh. There we are. This looks very, very beautiful. Next thing here up is the green color. So what I'm going to do is, basically we can copy this, but let's go back here up. I'm going to say here, we have here the above. I need to look, the below. Now I'm going to say here the above. And then above will be exactly the same. Copy this, put that in there. Give all of this here, and then here, I'm going to say here, another one, this will be the above gradient function. Same, everything is the same here. Let's copy all of this. I'm going to say here, function. Paste it in there, and I will just delete this parentheses that I, semicolon. And then here, you have these, curly braces, sorry. And then what I'm going to do is I can just duplicate everything here. I'll just copy all of it, because basically we can maintain the names, as I said earlier, because we are in a different function. The only thing what I don't want here is bottom, because I'm not want to work with bottom. What I want to work now is, instead of the down area, I want to work with the top. And the top here is this part. However, I want to start here and then go to the top. This is very important. So I'm going to say here, just the top value, and our starting point is down. The reason I want to do that, because I want to make this transparent, and as we go up, it will become gradually greener. So that's very important. So once I have this, if I save this, it should already do something, as you can see here. But of course, I'm not satisfied. We're going to go up more and get the green color, of course. Where are you? The fourth color here. Copy this. Scroll down. Put that in there. We can put that in there, and I'll put that in here. But I want to make sure that this is 5 and this one is 0. Save, refresh. And there we are. So we have this here, and you can see here, this one of course becomes slightly more greener or faster greener compared to this, because this has relatively, this one has more space, so it has a slower transition. Well, this one has a shorter space, so the transition is faster. Alright, so now we have this here. What I think would be nice just to remove this legend here that has no value in this chart. So what I'm going to do here, let's see, datasets, in here, after the scales, put a comma, I'm going to say plugins, bracket, no, not bracket, sorry, but curly braces. And then what I want to do here, legend, I'll say here, display false. Just hide the legend, no need for it. Save, refresh. There we are. That looks nice. Alright, so one of the next parts, what I want to do is I want to make here a dotted line here from left to the right. So we're going to do that one now. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, I need to create a new plugin here. So just after the options, you see this options, curly braces, and here, comma, say plugins, bracket, and then I'm going to say here, maybe dotted line, or it could be anything that we can use. But dotted line would be more than enough. So then, this is our new object, or constant. So I'm going to say here, because this will be a plugin, I'm going to say here, this plugin block, this as a description, and I'm going to say constant, this equals ID will be equal to that. And then when are we going to draw that? Well, the dotted line, I want to make sure that the dotted line will be drawn after, or sorry, before we draw this line, meaning that our line, the chart line, should always be on top of this dotted line, similar to the grid lines here. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to say here, before the data sets draw. So before we draw the data set, draw this line. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say arcs. I'm going, I will use here the chart object, arcs, and finally I'm going to put in here the plugin options. So what we're going to do then here is we're going to draw that line. So what we need here is again an object destruction from the chart. We're going to copy that as a constant, curly braces equals chart, and then here what I need is the following. I want the CTX, I want the data, I want the chart area, and then specifically here in the chart area I'll be using the left, the right, and the width. And then finally I want the scales, and from the scales I will be needing probably only the Y scale, but I'll just put in X and Y just in case. And you can always remove them afterwards which one you don't use, so that's not a problem. So then what I'm going to say here, ctx.save to save all values above. Once I have this, I'm going to start drawing this dotted line, and to make sure that this dotted line will stay, it's not connected to any other line, I'm going to say here ctx.begin path, indicating we're going to create a new line or new object or a new shape, and nothing else should be connected with this shape. So that's the first part. So then what I'm going to say here is ctx.line width, indicating how many pixels in thickness is the line. Just only 1 pixel, that's more than enough. Next, what I want to do here is to indicate the dotted line item. So I'm going to say here ctx.set line dash And then here I need to use brackets because it's an array value. And I will say 1 solid pixel, and then after that 5 pixels of white space. So we have only a very thin line here, very narrow one. It's just to highlight it, but it's not to make it too obvious. So what I want to do next then is the color. CTX dot, and then we're going to say here, stroke style, indicating the color here, and this will be equal, and this is a string value, and I'm going to use the official color. If I'm not mistaken, it's hashtag 666, or that's the one, but usually that's more for the text. And if you're not sure, what we can do here is the grid line color, which is RGBA. Now you say 102, 102, 102, 0.2, if it's one or the other. But anyway, it doesn't matter so much. So then what we have here, the next one, is the drawing of the line. So I'm going to say here, CTX dot, and I'm going to say here, move to, so we're going to make our starting point here. And for the move to, I need an X coordinate and a Y coordinate only. Luckily, we already know most of it because we already figured out one of these commands, how we can get the starting point here. So what we're going to say here for the X value, our starting point will be at the very left line here. So I'm going to say here left, and then here for the Y value, well, we're going to get here, get pixel for value. That is the command we used as well previously. And then here again, I want to get the data, and specifically that is 9.33. That's this one here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here data dot data sets, as what I previously explained already. So we can find it even here. I think that's even better. Let's copy this one here. Data dot data sets dot data, because we have here the data, but if you look here up, we also use it here in the data structure. Exactly the same. So I'm going to just copy this, put it in there, and there we are. That's our starting point. Then I'm going to say CTX dot line 2, and that is the drawing of the line, or not even the drawing because it's not being drawn yet, but this is the preparation of drawing the line, so it knows where to draw the line once we give the drawing command. So we say here, and what I want to do here is I need to go from the left side all the way to the right side. So what I'm going to say here is the right. Can grab this one here. I guess we don't even need the width here. We can even remove that one. Comma, and then what I want to do here, still on, we will not go vertically. We don't go up or down. We only want to go horizontally. So I'm just using the same value here. Once I did that, I'm going to say ctx.stroke. That's the drawing command. And then what we could do even here, I guess we don't even need to have the close path for this. That's fine. Then I'm going to say here, ctx.close path. That's where we can put the close path. We don't have to put it up. So we put the close path here down, so it will be closed. And then, if I save this, refresh. Alright, nothing happens yet. CTX stroke, am I correct, or is it? Alright, you can see it, but I realize that it's far too hard to spot. So what I'm going to do here is, this maybe, let's make it solid 1. Save. There we are. Now we have this beautiful line here. That is our dotted line. Now we have the close path here. Final item here, CTX dot. Then I'm going to say set line dash. And then I'm going to put it in brackets. The reason I'm doing this is I want to reset this, but I'm not allowed to put it on 0, 0. This is first what I thought was fine, but apparently Firefox or in Safari, this will not always be supported. So I'm going to remove that all and just say there's nothing in here. If there's nothing in here, it will consider it as a fully solid line. Very important. Save this, refresh. There we are. And that is basically part 1 of this. And of course, there's still so much more we need to do, but that will be in the next video. We're going to cover some other more exciting parts to continue to make it a nice chart.